In the last session, we have discussed about like logical operators, also increment decrement operators we did in the last session. We have done with the bitwise operators as well. So this is bitwise operation we are doing here with bitwise operators. So one is increment and decrement operators, then bitwise operators. In the case of increment operator, either it can be prefix or postfix. Okay, with bitwise operators, you can perform operations on the both operands, either using bitwise AND operation or OR operation, or one more is here, like exclusive OR operation. So few examples we have seen to this. Next, we discuss about conditional statements. Okay. So in the JavaScript, you have different types of conditional statements. One is if, other one is switch. The same you find in the C#, C language, Java, okay, C++. In all those languages, you find same constructs. This is called as if, and this is called as your switch. First, let us discuss about the if here. So you have if followed by, you will put a condition here. Depending on the condition, what happens? It may execute a single statement or multiple statements. Curly brackets are not mandatory. When there is only one statement, you don't require curly bracket. When you have more than one statement, you need it. Okay, because curly brackets, they make you a compound statement, or you can get a block with that. So we write this way, if followed by here condition, then it is going to execute statement or statements. It may execute one statement or it may execute multiple statements. Okay, it is one-way branching, or you can go with the two-way branching as well. You go with the if, then here you have a condition, followed by here, you may execute statement or statements, or statements. If the given condition is false, then you may go with the else part of this. Again, you may execute here statement or statements. Either one statement or multiple statements you can execute. So this is two-way branching. But sometimes what happens, you may go with the multi-way branching. So multi-way branching is like this. We have if followed by condition. Okay, then here you have statement or statements. Okay, after that, you go here with the else if. Then put another condition here. Okay, you can type here, and again you can have statement or statements. Okay, statement or statements. In the same way, you can go here with the multiple times else if. You can have multiple times else if. Okay, some condition you have. Then you may have statement or statements. In the same manner, you can have here. At the end, if you want to add else, you can add else again here. Okay, like this, you can have here multi-way branching. First one is single-way branching or one-way branching. This is when the condition is met, it is going to execute those statements which are in the, following block. Okay, otherwise, if it's false, nothing happens. But in the second case, you have a condition here. If the condition is getting satisfied, these statements, they get executed. Otherwise, what happens? It comes to else part. This is called as a two-way branching. And now when it comes to third one here, this is called as multi-way branching. Okay, first we have a condition. If that condition is returning a true value, you execute this. Otherwise, we come to this condition. If this condition is returning a true value, the statements get executed. Otherwise, it comes to next else if, like this. You can go to any level like this. It is called as if, else if, else if, else if. At the end, if you want to add else, you can add. Otherwise, it's optional. Else is always optional. If you want to add, you can add. Otherwise, you can omit it. So this is basically if condition. Okay. So now using if condition, I want to find out something. I have a number like 200 or 220 or 225. I have three numbers. I'll take here three numbers. I'm going to take here three numbers. So when you look at 225, this is a perfect square. It is nothing but here a perfect square. Because when you find out the square root of 225, you get it as 15, exact value you get. But when you go with 200, what value we get? We are going to get this as hello, can you hear me? Am I
Yes,
audible?
sir.
Yes, okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you take 200, this is going to give us 14 point, okay, something like 1, 4, something like that you get, or 1, 3, something like that you get. But when you go with the 220, you're going to get it as 14 point some 8. Okay. So when you go with the 225, this is a perfect square. When you go with the 200, when you try to find the square root of 200, you get 14.13 and you get some value after that. Similarly, when you try with 220, you get 14.8, x, something like that you are going to get. So 220 and 200 and 220, they are not perfect squares, whereas 225 is a perfect square. But we can make 200 a perfect square in two different ways. One is what? You can add 25 or you can subtract 4 from that. When you add 25 to that, what will happen? It becomes 225. That is going to be a perfect square. Similarly, when you subtract 4 from that, you get 196, which is nothing but again a perfect square. Okay. In the same way, if you take 200, 220, either you can add 5 here or you can subtract 24. You can subtract 24 from that. When you add 5, what happens? 225 you get, which is nothing but perfect square. Similarly, when you subtract 24, you get 196, which is nothing but again a perfect square. Okay, so you can add a number or you can subtract number if the given number is not a perfect square. So in such cases, you have to take smaller number and you need to perform appropriate operation. In the case of 200, you can add 25 or you can subtract 4. So here, when you take 200, 4 has to be subtracted rather than adding 25 to that. Because, 4 is nearer to 186. But 25 is more, that is nearer to 225. So 4 is smaller and 25 is bigger. In that particular case, you need to go with the 4, minus 4. But when you take 220, you can do two things. One is adding 5 and subtracting 4. So you must be adding here 5, not subtracting 4, because 5 is smaller than 24. So that way, when you enter a number, so that has to be, first of all, it has to find whether that is a perfect square or not. If it's not a perfect square, so in such cases, it has to find out what number has to be added to that. Okay, there are two possibilities always. Either you can add a number or you can subtract number. But of the two possibilities, you need to pick only smaller number. So with the smaller number, whatever is appropriate, you need to do that. In the case of 200, you can subtract 4. Okay. In the case of 220, you can add 5. So like this, when a number is given to you, you need to find whether the number is a perfect square or not. Okay, if it's not perfect square, then you need to either add a number or subtract a number. But whatever is smaller, so that number you need to take and you need to perform appropriate operations there. So in the case of 200, you subtract 4. Operation is subtraction, you are going to subtract 4. But when it is 220, you need to add 5 rather than subtracting 24. So like this now, you need to write the code using if condition. So let us try to write that. Understood the logic here, what I'm saying? So if you understand logic, you can do that. Now, let us see this. This is what increment and decrement operators. I come to increment and decrement operators. When I launch this, I get this way the screen. Okay, if I go with the post increment, it's showing like this. Just below this one, I want to add input box, then I want to add a button. So with that, I should do it now. Okay, so this is another div I'm trying to add here. But in this process, I want to give a gap between the first one and second one. So using style, I can go with the margin top. Okay, from top, I need to have some margin. So margin is going to be here some 10 px. 10 pixels I'm using here. Okay, then here color also I would like to change. For this background color, I want to change color followed by here. I would like to go with this color, biscuit color I would like to take. So this is I should say background color. Okay, this is background color. Okay, then here I want to go with input type equal to some number I take. Okay, followed by id equal to this is num1. Okay, then placeholder is here, enter a number. Like this, I add a input. Then I want to move into next line, so I go with the BR tag. Okay, next step is I need to add a button here. I just add a button. Okay, button ID is btn 1. Some ID you need to put. On click equal to, okay, perfect square. It's a function I'm defining perfect square. Okay, I need to call here that one. Then this is find perfect square or not. Perfect square or not. Like this, I keep a button. After this button, I go this way. Then here, I put a span. ID is, okay, perfect, perfect result. Then here, don't have any value, but for this, I would like to give some color. Style, color equal to, here it is, sorry, style equal to color. This will be red. I'm trying to put red color here. Now into this, we need to, put the text. If the given number is a perfect square, it should print that it's a perfect square. Otherwise, what has to be added, we need to find. So for that purpose, we have to define here a function called perfect square. So how do we define? Here we come into this part, then define the function. Okay, type here function, followed by here perfect square, then here define it. Okay, so from where we get the number? From this particular input box you need to get. Okay, ID is what here? Num1. ID is num1. So from that we have to get. Just take here where num equal to document dot get element by ID. You go with that get element by ID. Then here it is num1 followed by here dot value. Okay, I'm retrieving the value from the text box. Okay, next whether it is empty or not, we don't know. Okay, it is empty or not, we don't know. So if it is empty, then in that case, button should not be clicked. Let me show you the screen here, how it looks. Once again, let me refresh here. You get something like this. When you don't have any number here, it should not be, enabled. This has to be disabled. When you enter a number, so in such cases, this has to be enabled. By default, the button must be disabled for us. By default, we need to disable this. Okay, by default, this must be disabled. When you enter some number here, you have to enable that. Okay, when you enter some number, you have to enable, otherwise this must be disabled. Let us try to disable that here. Come to this point and here disable. So disabled equal to, here it is disabled. Like this we put. Disabled equal to disabled. When you run this, now this is disabled. Upon entering some number here, that must be getting enabled. Here, if you try to enter some alphabets, it will not take. Okay, so it is taking, sorry. So if I enter T, E takes because exponential number, it can take. Okay, so when you try to enter here other digits, it's not taking. Now this is disabled here, but when you enter some number here, this has to be enabled. So how we do that? For that purpose, here we write some other event. Okay, this is what on you have here change. Whenever it is changing, in such cases, you have to, the button must be enabled or disabled. Okay, so this is function is here, yeah, get status. Okay, this is what here, get status, something like this. I write a function, so that should be getting called. That should be getting called, or else you can write this as disable enable button. Okay, disable enable button. So whenever we enter something here, the button must be enabled, and when there is no data in that, that must be disabled. That way we have to do. So another function we need to write now in this. Just come down here, try to write function, put here, followed by, we need to go here with the event. Okay, we have here some event, with that we need to do it. Okay, or else if you don't want to write event, that's fine. Here you can retrieve value from the num1, something similar to this. Okay, here right, we have a value here. Okay, this is going to be a string here. Now, and another thing what I do, I want to trim it. If you have any simply spaces, you need to remove. So go with a trim function. Trim is going to remove leading as well as trailing spaces. Okay, I'm trimming it. You have a num here. Now using if condition, take like this. If num dot length, since this is a string, you can go with the length. Okay, this is going to be length here. If num dot length equal to here 0, so what should happen here? The button must be disabled. We need to disable the button. So what is the button we have? The button is here we have. Okay, button name is btn1. We need to disable. We come to this point, then here we go with the document dot get element by id. Okay, here we take this followed by num btn1 dot, we write here disabled. Okay, disabled equal to, you can write it as disabled. This way we write. Suppose this is wrong, else part we come, then here we write this way, we try to assign here some empty string. Empty string we assign. Now let us see how this works. Okay, whenever some text is changing in the text box, here it has to either enable or disable the button. Refresh this. As soon as I enter something like here 1, this must be getting enabled now. When you go with the mouse focus out, now delete this here, come out, it's getting disabled. Okay, change is going to fire whenever you go away from the given text input. Okay, but when you are there, in that case, nothing happens. Now I enter some 23. When you come out here, it's going to show this is what it is, a perfect square. Find perfect square or not. But when you delete everything here, this will be disabled. So like this, you need to go with the enable and disable functionality. Okay, initially you should not be clicking the button when there is no data in that. Let us try to modify this here. Okay, instead of going with the like change event, let us go here with the other mechanism. So what are the other events we have? Let us see. On, okay, like here key press or key down. On key press you have, on seeking we have on key press event, let us take. On key press event, let us take. So instead of using on change, we go with this disable enable button here. On key press, we are going to call this particular thing. Okay, then on key press, we are going to do that particular thing. And here, let us remove this. Let us remove the thing here. That means whenever you press some keyboard key, that should fire automatically for us. Again, refresh here this one. Okay, now type a 1 here. So it is not firing. If you go with the 2, it should fire, but not firing here. So key press is not working. Reason, you need to have here some event. Okay, so where is the button for us? It is somewhere here. Enable disable button, followed by we put here event. We go here with a parameter called event. With that, we try to do it. Refresh. Now enter here a number. As soon as you type a number, that should automatically happen, but it's not happening there. What is the reason? Let us see. Go with the developer tools. Okay, you have info. Okay, no errors are in this. So find here, this is not working. Key press is not working. So let us go with the on here, key down. Go here with the on, followed by here it is. On change is working properly. Okay, on blur, we have there. On drop, on embed, on error, on focus. On load, you have similarly. What is happening here? On key down, anywhere do we find that? Let us see. KLM, you have here key down somewhere, it must be available for us. On key down, let us try with that. Let us try to find that here. On key down, let us see here. So try to refresh this. Here type 1. As soon as you type here, it should actually work for us. Okay, come to this point and see here what is getting printed in that. When you go down here and try to go with this, okay, you should have your event as well. Event, you should have even here. So once again, see this one, type 1. As soon as you type 1, that should be basically, it should get enabled. But when you go with the second number, now you have this. When you have first number, nothing is happening. But when you go with the next one, it is working properly. 2, then 3, then you have actually getting as here, getting enabled. But this is not disabling now. Okay, when you type 1, it's getting disabled. Okay. So here with this, you can see that. What happens here? You have an event. Okay, you have an event. Now in the event, what things are available? Let us print console.log followed by event. We go with the event here and see what do we have in the event. What data is available in the event. Based on that, we can find. So refresh this here. Refresh here. And here we go with this. As soon as I type 2, you go with the messages here. Okay, keyboard event is what here? This is location, control key. Like this, when you expand further, what are the things available in this? You can find. It is not control key. Okay, key is how much here? 2 you got. Okay, key code is 50, key is 2. Like this we got. Okay, so here what should happen? What should happen in this case is here we can go this way. Instead of having this code now here, you can just change it. Okay, change this way here. Okay, So we take here if condition. Okay. So if it is backspace, you have to handle. If it's, otherwise you need to handle in the other way. What character we are printing, we can find there. If you look at this, you can find all these things in this. Whether this is a key char or not, we can find here. Whether it's a key or not, key is 2 here, key code is 50. This is ASCII code, and this is the character we have here. So it is printing this as here 2. Okay, so it is printing it as 2 here. Now what I do, here I go with the alert. Whether this is control character or not, we can check. If event dot, okay, if event dot control key. Okay, so what is getting printed for us here? It is printing this one as here is control key or something. If you see here, control key, CTRL key. Okay, event dot CTRL key. Okay, if it is CTRL key, you need to print that, what key that is. So go with the alert, followed by here, event dot. Here it is, what we can take, key we can take. Once again, we look at this, you have here somewhere the character code, similar key code. You have a key code, or we can say key, you can print here key. If it is a control character, we try to print the key here. So just refresh this page here, type here 1, then 2, after that press backspace key. When it's backspace, it should actually alert us. That is a control character. Backspace is nothing but a control character. Okay, let us print here whenever it's control character. What is the value we get? Again, let us see here. Okay, alert, followed by here, event dot control key. This is CTRL key. It is a control key. We try to print it. Okay, refresh this here. After that, I type 1. It says false. Similarly, when I go with the backspace, this prints false again. Okay, so it is a control key or not. Whenever we go here, event dot control key, it's giving false. Even backspace is also nothing but false. So go here and try to type here now key. What result we get? Let us check. Okay, refresh this here. Then enter 1, 2. 1 is coming here. We go with the 2. 2 is coming. When I enter backspace here, it is printing backspace. Key is printed as here backspace. Okay, it's nothing but here backspace. So if it is control key, then in such case, it's not a control key. Basically, backspace is not control key. So therefore, what we do, we comment this part. Then here, try to use the backspace mechanism. Okay, right here, if followed by, this is event dot key equal to, this is backspace. What was getting printed for us? It was printing as backspace. Okay, it was printing as backspace, so print it as here backspace. So if it is backspace, then we have to go with this, where num equal to, we get this way. Then here we have to check. Again, we use an if condition. In such cases, you have to disable this. If the condition is meeting, then you have to disable. But else, what we do here, else we go here, then we try to write like this. If again we write key dot, okay, event dot key equal to, okay, so event dot key dot, whether anything possible, let us see here. Event dot key, whether it is digit or not can be find, we cannot find here. So therefore, we have a mechanism called here char, okay, char dot is, we don't have anything, fine. So I want to write here a lengthy thing that is going to be like if event dot key equal to, okay, I can convert event.key in such cases. What I do, I can write this way, where instead of where I'll make this as let here where num equal to, I want to put like here where num equal to, here it is like parse int followed by here, this is event dot key. I can go this way, I can get the key value for that. So if num is greater than or equal to 48 and num is less than 58, in such cases we need to enable this document.get element by id, then here we enable it. So write it as here, just empty string we put, with that gets enabled. So now with this, as soon as we press some key here, either it should enable or this has to be disabled. Nothing is happening here. Go with 2 here, still not getting. Okay, we go here with the 2, something like this, but not getting enabled here in this. What is the problem? Do we have any errors? Let us see. Okay, no errors here. Info if you take, what is the problem here? Whenever key is backspace, okay, it is going to be disabling it. Otherwise, this has to basically disabled equal to false we have to make. Let us print here what value we get. Alert followed by num. Okay, alert num, we go with that. Let us see here what will happen when we try to type something here. It is printing as 1 here. Okay, similarly we go with this, it is printing it as 2. So data is available here. The type of num also we see here, type of, okay, followed by num, whether what type of data this is, you can get here. What type of data that is, you can get and you can compare here. So once again here, see, I enter 3, it's a number it's saying here. So when it is number, the comparison is correct here. So what I do here, this is if num greater than or equal to like what 48 and num less than 58. In such cases, I have to make disabled equal to empty. This is okay. Disabled equal to empty. I should do same code whatever I have written earlier. I am trying to use here same thing. Same thing I am trying to do here. But what is the problem we are getting? Let us see. So remove this alert here and try to set inside this. Okay, inside this, let us try to put it. Okay, we go with this, then here, whether we come into this part or not, see, console.log. Okay, so it is a number, it is a digit, like this we print. When that is a digit, this must be enabled. So document.get element by id btn1 dot disabled equal to, you need to make it empty. That means it is going to be becoming false. Whether we come into this part or not, we check. Okay, refresh it. And here info we take, or else user messages we take here. And what will happen? Let us see now in this. I typed 1. So when I typed 1 here, I should get information. Nothing is getting printed. It is not coming into this part. When I go with the console.log, I'm not getting anything. The condition what I've written is num greater than or equal to 48 and num less than 58. So that condition, if it is getting satisfied, then it should be coming into this. Right here, alert followed by it is num or it is number. We print that way the value. So now refresh this here. We enter here 1. Okay, we enter 2 here. We enter 4. It's not coming into this part. What is the reason? So something I think we have done wrong. Come back here and try to print what exactly it is printing here. So this one is event.key. Let us print. Whether this backspace is correct or not, we don't know. So it should be uppercase or lowercase. I could not remember. If it's uppercase, then you have a problem. Okay, now here come to this point and refresh. Enter something like here 1. It's printing 1. Then when I go with the backspace, it is coming like this. First letter is here what? Uppercase B. Okay, subsequent things are here lowercase. That is the reason it was not working properly. So go here and try to make this first one as B here. This backspace. Now again run here this one. Let us refresh. Type here 1. Okay, 1 is not taken here. When you type 1, next go with the 2 here. But inside this is not coming. This part, it's not coming into this part, but here we are not coming inside this. If event dot key put to backspace, okay, it has to come into this part. Fortunately, unfortunately, we are not coming there. So what is the reason? We need to identify again. So delete this here and prompt try to come into this part. If event dot key equal to backspace, it has to come into this, else it has to come to this part. Okay, it has to come into this particular part here. Okay, so here, let us see why this is not firing. Alert, followed by here, this one. Okay, else it is print not a backspace. Not a backspace. We print it as not a backspace here. In the same way, when we come here, it's a number, it's printing. So let us see. So this is what, not a backspace. It has to print here. Enter here a number, it prints not a backspace. But after that, why it is not coming into this? Num equal to what we do here, event dot key. So parse we are doing. Okay, we are getting the num there. If num is greater than or equal to 48 and num less than 58, we have to come into this part. So definitely it will not be. Reason, we are not getting 48 there, we are getting just 2 there. Okay, let us go here with the num2, num greater than or equal to, it is how much? 0, and num less than or equal to num less than 10. Let us do, and probably it can work now. Okay, so refresh this here, enter 3. It's getting enabled. Go with this, but when it's backspace, this must be disabled. It has to be getting disabled when it's backspace. Okay, it has to be getting disabled when it's a backspace. When length is actually equal to, when length is equal to 0, you need to get it. But that's not happening there. So type here 1, click on OK. So again, remove here this one. This is not working. You need to make even that one is working. If event dot key equal to backspace, you are getting the value of num. If num dot length, okay, if num dot length equal to 0, then this should be basically you have to enable. But what type of data we are getting? Let us see in this. So alert followed by this is type of number. Type of num. So what type of data we are getting? See in that. Fine. So refresh this, followed by here, enter 2, not a backspace, it is enabled. Go with this, it's a string. You have a string in this case. So when it's string, in this case, length is going to be, length if it is 0, you go with this. When length is not 0, it will not be like that. So this is how much length we have, let us see. Okay, so if length is how much here, we see here, then similarly, here when it is like, okay, if length is 0, we disable basically. Okay, backspace, alert type of num we get, it is string we are getting. So string we need to convert into number, but we are not doing that. We are not doing that particular thing here. Then write num equal to, but string only, we require here length. Write here alert followed by num dot length, or num dot length. Let us see whether this gives error or not, we can check. In a string method, with the help of that, we can find how many characters are in that. So enter 2. Okay, it is 2 here. When I go with the backspace, it is saying 1. There is 1 character in that. Because of that, it is not happening. So always go here with the -1, then probably you get the solution. length minus 1 equal to 0. So this must be disabled, otherwise it must not be disabled. So with this, probably we can get it. So with the 1, not a backspace, that is, it is getting enabled. If you go with this backspace, it's getting now disabled. Go with the 2 here. So what happens? It must be enabled. Now when you remove this one, it is going to be getting again disabled. Now let us enter 1. Similarly, here we enter 2. We enter here 3. Now after that, it's not a backspace, fine. So come back to this, delete one by one. Okay, we go with this. When you delete the last one, in such cases, this is getting disabled here. So like this, when there is data in the text box, it must be enabled, otherwise it must be disabled. So using disabled attribute, we can do it. So alert is not required for us. Let us remove the alert here. Alert we don't require. Now we got that particular functionality working for us. Okay, so what we do here, if the pressed key is not a backspace, we are using here if condition, this is two-way branching. And inside this if condition, we are using another if condition as well. So if event dot key equal to backspace, what we do when it's backspace, here we try to retrieve the value of num. We are retrieving the value into the num. Okay. If length of that num minus 1 equal to 0, then we disable. Otherwise, we don't do anything. Okay, this is here one-way branching. This particular part is one-way branching, but this is here from to here it is when true, and from here to here it is when false. Okay, if the pressed key is not backspace, we come to this part then where num equal to parse int event dot key. Okay, key value, how much you get? You get 2 there. When you convert that into number, you get a 2 only. So here what I take therefore, if num greater than or equal to 0 and num less than 10, so it is going to be disabled equal to, it is empty. That means what? You are making disabled equal to false. So in the first case, you are writing disabled. In the second case, disabled equal to false, we have written. So when there is data available, in such cases, the button must be enabled. Otherwise, button must not be enabled. So like this, we need to write the validations. This is actually screen validation. Okay. Whenever when there is empty, if you try to click on this, there is no meaning in that. When this is empty, if you click on this, there is no meaning. But when there is data, in such cases, you need to click on the button. So what I've done here, whenever it is empty, I'm disabling this. Whenever there is data in that, I'm going to enable. So like this, we have done here. Okay, whenever that is becoming empty, automatically button is getting disabled. When that is disabled, even if you click on that, nothing happens there. When that is enabled, in that case, when you click is going to fire for us. Okay, now next part is what? We need to find whether the given number is a perfect square or not. So for that, we have another function. Okay, so what we do here, we are getting some num here. Next, again, I write num equal to parse int. Parse int is going to convert the given number into, the string into number. Okay, we are getting it as number. So next step we need to find here whether the given number is a perfect square or not. So right here, sqrt equal to, first of all, you have a library called math dot. Okay, we can go here with the sqrt. There is a function called sqrt. So with the help of that, you can find the square root. Square root of the given number, it is num. Okay, we are finding here square root of that. We are getting the square root of that. So next one, here we write isqrt, that is integer part of that. I'm going to typecast here, followed by I keep here sqrt. So what happens? It is going to be converting. Okay, let me put here var. So this is, I'm finding the square root of that. I'm finding here square root. So I want to get only integral part of that. I want to get only integral part of the given number. I don't want to take any fractional part. So therefore, here sqrt dot. So I can go here with the 2 fixed here, followed by 0 digits. After decimal point, I don't have anything in that case. I'm going to fix it up to 0 there. So fix it up to 0 digits. If you go to 2 fixed, so here, how many fractional digits you want to have here? So this is going to be 0. Okay, but you are going to get a string from that. Number dot to fix it, you get a string. Again, you need to convert this into number. So right here, this is parse int. Okay, then you try to get this string you are converting into here integer. Now let us write the logic. We go here and write the logic. If sqrt minus isqrt, this equal to here 0. So what we should do, we should print it as perfect square. We go with the else part here, else if we take here, or else part we write. In the else part, in the nested if else, we write actually if condition. So right here, if condition, then write sqrt minus isqrt greater than or equal to 0.5. Okay, you need to write here some code block. Otherwise, you have to come to this part, and in the else part, you can write the required code. Okay, when it is 0, what we need to print? It's a perfect square we need to print. But where we have to print? We need to print it here in the where is the span? This is the span, perfect res. This is span ID is here, perfect res. In this perfect res, we need to add this. Okay, we come to this part, then here write document dot get element by ID. Okay, get element by ID. Then here we go with this, then write dot value equal to, here we write num plus is already a perfect square. Okay, it's already a perfect square. We try to print it. So how this works, let us see. And similarly here, what value we get for sqrt and isqrt, let us check. Console.log. Here in this sqrt we print, and other one is isqrt we print. So it's going to show the values for us. Now refresh this here. Here go with the number. You go with the 225. Then click on the find perfect square or not. It is saying 15 and 15. Both are what? 15. But if I go here with the 220, what will happen? See in this. We get 14, and other one is here. How much? 15 you are getting. When you go with the fixed, you are getting that part. Okay, whenever it is fixed, you are getting it as 15. So this logic will not work for us. We need to change the logic here in this. Okay, so when you go with the fixed, you are getting that problem. You got here sqrt, you're getting perfect, but you need to convert that into integer. Whether this is possible or not, we see here. Parse int, if you take here, okay, it is going to be using the first argument as string only. Okay, so what you do in such cases, go into this, then dot to string you do. With that, you can convert to string, and whatever operation you want to perform, you can perform there. Now let us see how this works. So go here, refresh, then enter 220. Now when you click on the find perfect square or not, first one you are getting 14.83, the integral part you are getting as 14. In the same way, we go here with the 200. So when you go with the 200, what result you get? See here. One is what? 14.14, the other one is 14. Like this, you are getting values. Now, based on this, you need to find whether the given number is a perfect square or not. Okay, so let us go with this. Here, enter 225 and see what this prints. Okay, somewhere we should have the value here. Okay, the value is not getting printed for us because here we have written if this is equal to 0, I mean sqrt minus isqrt equal to 0, then you need to print that perfect res equal dot value equal to num plus is already a perfect square. Are we having any error in this? Let us see here. Okay, so anywhere do we have error? No error, but nothing is coming up. We don't have any value. It should come somewhere in the span. So where is the span? Let us see again. Go on to the span here. In the span, this is what? Perfect res. It is nothing but perfect res. With that, this has to be printed. In the span, we need to have that. Okay, come down and see here why this is not coming. Perfect res is dot value equal to num plus is already a perfect square. We have something like this. Let us convert even this to string here. num dot followed by toString. If num is actually is a number, then we convert to string and try to print the value. Okay, so here come, just refresh this. After that, enter here 225, then print here. So 15 and 15, but somewhere here we should get it. We are not getting the value. The value we are supposed to get, we are not getting it. Anyhow, we try to put on the console here, console.log, what happens, see here. Okay, we go here and try to print in the console.log. Just write here, console.log. Okay, it is a perfect square. It is a perfect square. It has to print for us. So if it's not printing, then this can be a problem. So it has to print a perfect square. Just here, refresh, followed by enter 225. 225 we enter, then click on the, so it's a perfect square, it is printing, but in the somewhere here we have to get, we are not getting it. So where we are not getting, we need to check here. So we are going with the ID, span ID equal to perfect res. Okay, style color red, span we have taken. So in this must be getting printed for us. In the span we have to have, but we are not getting that. What could be the reason? Once again, check here. So let us put some text here, how it looks, see first. Something like welcome we put, then see whether that is shown in the red color or not, we see. We are getting perfect, that is. But why it is not shown here? When you go with the here, whenever we come here, it has to even show in the like text box in the span. We have to get it. So where is the problem here? Document dot get element by ID. What is the problem? Can anyone tell here in this? This is not value. You need to go with the inner text. This is span. You have to go with the inner text. Then this can work. Okay, it's inner text. When you go with the inner text, this can work here. Refresh it, then enter 225. It should say that it's a perfect square. 225 is already a perfect square. It is printing. So like this, you need to have the debugging skills. There is a problem and how to rectify quickly. You need to logically think and you need to find. Okay, if it is not 225, then we have to come to this part. If it's not a perfect square, we have to come here. When the difference between SQRT and minus ISQRT, if it's greater than or equal to 0, 0.5, we need to print something like this here. Okay, so we come to this point here, then write this way. We are going to put here document.get element by ID inner text. Okay, so here we go this way, then write. What do we write here? This is going to be like, we take brackets like this, ISQRT plus 1, okay, multiplied with here, ISQRT plus 1, minus here it is, okay, we are multiplying that, then followed by here, minus ISQRT, okay, ISQRT, okay, not minus ISQRT, we have to go with the here num. So whatever num we have here, we have to go with the num. So num is to be added. We need to print it. And whatever we get here, this you need to convert into string. Go with the toString here. This is toString to be added to make, okay, to be added. So this must be here plus symbol. Then in the double quotes, we should have it to be added to here. Just write again plus symbol. So this is now num dot toString. Okay, we put here toString, then plus here to make it a perfect square. To make it a perfect square. Like this, I have written. So now we should get the correct result. So here we need to get that value. Let us now try again with this. Refresh this, enter a number like 220. When you click on that, what it has to say, 5 has to be added to 220 to make it a perfect square. Click on this. What it says here, 5 to be added to 220 to make it a perfect square. Need not be like 220 only always. We can go here with the 100. In the case of 100, what happens? 100 is lying where? It is lying between 10 and it is 10. So I go with the 102. Okay, it is lying between 100 and 11. It has to say 2 has to be subtracted. Okay, so 2 has to be subtracted. Rather than that, I give here 112. What it should say in this case, 10 has to be added to make it a perfect square. So click on this here. It says 9 to be added to 112 to make it a perfect square like this. Okay, but when it is something like 102, it has to say 2 has to be subtracted. So let us write that part of code also here. If this is wrong, this condition is wrong here, we come to this part, then same thing we take here. Inner text equal to, here let us write. Okay, let us write here. So what we have to do now here in this, we go this way. Here it is num minus, okay, num minus, it is isqrt multiplied with isqrt, okay, num minus isqrt multiplied with isqrt, okay. So then we need to convert this to string here. To string we write here plus is to be subtracted from, so what we write here num, okay. Same thing we can copy and paste here in this. After this we go with a plus symbol, then we add like this, not plus plus only, plus num we need to put here, okay. So when we enter here, when we enter just 102, it has to print that 2 has to be subtracted to make 102 a perfect square. Let us type here 102 and here click on this. It says 2 is to be subtracted from 102 to make it a perfect square. Similarly, you have here 9 9s 81, 10 10s 100. Okay, 9 9s 81, 10 10s 100 you have. So in between them, let us try to give some number. 90 let us give. So when you give 90, what happens? See in this. You go with the 90 and here find perfect square or not. What it says here, 9 is to be subtracted from 90 to make it a perfect square. Okay, but suppose you enter 92 here, what will happen? See, you go with the 92. When you click on here, find perfect square or not, it should say that 8 has to be added. It says 8 to be added to 92 to make it a perfect square. So like this, using here if condition, whether the given number is a perfect square or not, based on that, we are finding. So we have written here a few functions in this. First one is what? Perfect square. With the help of that, whether given number is a perfect square or not, we are finding. Similarly, we have here a button called disable enable button. So with the help of the disable enable button, when there is data in the given text box, the button is enabled, otherwise button is disabled. So for that, what we use here, you use actually a parameter called event. Whatever key, if you press is backspace, you need to handle in different way. And if it's not backspace, if it is number, you need to do in the other way. So like this, we have coded here in this. Of course, but in this process, you had little struggling. Definitely we struggle straight away. It can never be happening. So in that process, you learn a lot. Okay. So if you learn, when you get errors, then only that is called correct learning. Without errors, if you get something really, that means you are copying and pasting something, it's working. But when you get errors, why you are getting error, where something went wrong. So what is your strategy in solving problem? So all that can be understood. If it's not working, then you can change your strategy. Ultimately, you can see that the code is working. Okay, so like this, I have enabled button, I have disabled button. Similarly, whether the given number is a perfect square or not, I could actually find in this. So using these two functions. So first function is what? Disable enable button. Where I have written this is getting executed whenever we enter some data in the input number. So what is written here? On key down. There are two events. One is key up, other one is key down. Okay, key press is nothing but actually combination of both key down and key plus. Okay, whenever you go here with enter key or key press, it's a combination of both key down as well as key up. Whereas key down meaning is what? When you hold down your keyboard key, it's called as hold key down, and when you release key, it is key up. So like that, you have actually various events, pre-built events you have, so that you need to use properly to get actually things working for you. Okay, so this is simple program, but in this I have written two functions. One is what? To disable the button. Second one is to find out whether the given number is a perfect square or not. Any questions on this?
Sir,
This is the
why you
logic.
have used the
Yes,
SQRT minus ISQRT is greater than or equal to
yes. So
why
reason here it is,
0.5?
reason is whenever, like with the help of this, you can find here whether to add a number or subtract number. For that, I am using it. When you take here SQRT minus ISQRT, if the value is greater than or equal to 0.5, I'm adding here. Otherwise, I'm subtracting. If you look at this here, in the case of 200, what value you are getting? 14.13 square root value. But when you go with the 220, what value you are getting? 14.8. Okay. So difference between 14.8 and 14, how much you get? It is going to be greater than 0.5. But when you go with the 14.13, how much value you get? You get it as 0.13, which is less than 0.5. So that logic I'm using here. Whenever the difference between the two things, if it is greater than or equal to 0.5, I'm going to add a number. Otherwise, I'm going to subtract a number. This is maths logic. One
If
is
it is
SQRT.
14.13 like that, sir, will it get a perfect square?
Yes,
Like
yes, no. If it's
14.13.
14.13, I'm going to subtract 4 from that.
It is 0. Less than 0.5, no, sir, difference.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That if it is less than 0.5, where we come? If it is greater than or equal to 0.5, we are going to add this. But when it is less than 0.5, you come to else part. Correct?
Okay, okay.
So it is going to be subtracting in that case. So with this logic, I was doing it. When difference between SQRT and ISQRT, if it is 0, what is happening in that case? It's a perfect square.
Sir, is there any shortcut for disabling and enabling? You have shown before perfect square, no, sir.
Yes, but
It
shortcuts
is
you need to
little
think
bit
on that.
lengthy code.
Because otherwise, how you know it? Whether you press backspace key, whether or you press it actually like whether is there any data in that or not? How do you know about that?
Okay.
So for that, definitely you need to track all those things.
Okay.
Okay, once you understand logic, then probably you can fine tune that, you can optimize that. But basic logic, how it is working, first you need to understand. When you press some keyboard key, you are capturing keys there. What key you press it? So based on that, you need to write some code, correct? So same thing I'm doing in this case. So in this process, you had few stumblings. When you stumble only, you get actually how things are working. If everything is working straight away, you never learn. Okay. So when you get problem, why it is giving a problem, how you have to rectify. So that is nothing but actually learning curve. That is very much required for everyone. Certain codes actually they don't work at all. Even if you try to install few softwares, they never properly get installed. So reason wantedly they do certain things. So in the process, you learn a lot. Okay, you need to learn a lot actually. You need to configure so many things. So in that case, you understand about the environment. In the same manner, when you try to learn something, if it's not working, that means you are learning something. If everything is working without much, without your effort much, then you are not learning anything. Simply, it's working for you. So you should invite actually errors, you should invite trouble in this. Not whenever you work, I mean, when you go in the, when you work for some company, when you are producing something related to production. So at that time, you should have few, I mean, errors. But when you work for, when you are learning at that time, you should learn, you should get more and more errors. So with that, I mean, without losing courage, without losing determination, if you learn, that's going to be perfect learning. That's my opinion. So definitely while learning, you have to struggle a lot. You see in the sports also, cricketers you take, boxing people you take, how much trouble they get troubled a lot, but ultimately they actually become winners. Same thing here for us. Okay, so this is what one is finding perfect square, other one is what here? like the method with the help of that function, with the help of that we are enabling or disabling. So when it is backspace, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to get the value from the num1, then I'm trimming it. Trimming meaning is what here? Leading and trailing spaces you remove. Somebody is putting some space, you think, so that you need to remove. Then after that, if num dot length -1 equal to 0, then you are disabling. Otherwise, this else is for this particular thing when it's not backspace. So inside this condition, whenever it is becoming true, in this if condition block, you have another if condition. This is called as nested if condition. Okay. Similarly, when it is here else part, where num equal to parse int event dot key. Okay, when you enter, I mean a key whose value is between 0 and 9, then what you do? You are going to disable it. Otherwise, it is going to be getting disabled like this. So this way, what is happening? The disable enable button is working. But when you work with frameworks like Angular, React.js, all there by default, you have actually at the very high level certain structures. Without writing this much code, you can do it. But this is what core JavaScript, what we are doing is core JavaScript. So based on this only, they are built. You're getting my point here? What I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So little difficulty definitely you have whenever you learn. Okay. So you
Yes.
need to overcome that. This is what disabling and enabling. So interface is not that good here actually, but I wanted to I mean focus more and more on the code. That's why I did not make actually better looking here UI user interface. So with the bootstrap, you learn all those things.
Hmm.
Okay, fine. Practice is more and more. We continue the next session
Okay, sir.
because this is somewhat heavy I feel today.